So I came to the US 4 years ago this week on Election Day 2020. And before I came, I've told this story before, but I asked one of my teachers, Ajahn, how I should approach returning. And he said, look, you can watch the news a little bit, but only if you determine not to let it give rise to even one unwholesome mind state. And he said, look, America is just one large perception. It's just one concept. It's a concept. And then I was at Nanachat and was giving a foot rub to Longpo Sumedho. And he said, yes, sankharas, formations, they go up and they go down. And as monastics, we really remain apolitical. It's deeply important to have a refuge where every element of society feels welcome, where we're all just human again. And in the US, the one institution we've had that's occupied that place has been Dolly Parton. No one knows her politics, and it's the one place, you can go and find truckers and drag queens all standing together, the Dalai Mama, as she's called, and what a gift, but that's what the Sangha is supposed to be. And to serve as a reminder that there is something more pure that we're all moving towards, that when you take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, you step into a broader storyline that is stretched over 2,500 years, that has outlasted the rise and fall of empires. And this quiet thread of people practicing to purify the heart and to bring goodness into the world in a quiet way. You can look and widen your view to understand how the Buddha navigated the situation in his time, where you had the two great kingdoms of the era, Magadha and Kosala, clashing. You had one of his chief disciples, King Bimbisara, murdered by his son. The commentaries say the Buddha's clan was massacred towards the end or at the end of his life, although that's not in the actual suttas. You had famine, you had false accusations, you had politics, and since then, no matter how bad, there's a conceit that so many have that this is the end times, or this is the beginning of times. Some people may be quite excited with where the world's going, and others may be distraught. But either way, it can be this tunnel vision to focus just on this moment and forget that just 70 years ago, there were monastics quietly trying to remain in robes as the Maoist revolution was underway in China. And through every era since and before, the quiet thread of people practicing for the sake of the ending of suffering. And the power of that unifying thread through history. There's a sutta called the Pansadovaka Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 3.101, and it's the dirt washer, but it's about purifying gold. And in it, the Buddha says, imagine a gold washer or his apprentice. They would take the dirty gold and put it in a pan and wash out the coarse sand, gravel, and grit. Then they would wash the middling defilements, the finer sand. And finally, they would cleanse that gold of the fine dust until just gold was left. And then placing that gold into a furnace, they would blow on it until it heated and blow off the dross. And as long as that dross had not been blown off, that gold would be brittle, not workable. But eventually, after blowing off the dross, that gold would be workable, malleable, bright, and luminous. And whatever ornament that goldsmith wished to make, a necklace, earrings, or otherwise, he could make it. Even so, a bhikkhu of heightened mind, a practitioner of heightened mind devoted to awakening, takes note and cleanses their mind of the coarse defilements. This is the gravel and grit, misconduct of body, speech, and mind. He wipes them out of existence, dispels them. After the coarse defilements have been dispelled, that practitioner cleanses the mind of the middle defilements, thoughts of sensuality, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of harmfulness. Then once the middle defilements had been cleansed, that practitioner would wash and cleanse the mind of the fine, subtle defilements, thought of one's homeland, thoughts of one's caste, family. The literal word is vana, or color. Color. You can think of red or blue. You can think whatever color you want, but your color. And thoughts of not wanting to be despised. One would cleanse the mind of the fine defilements, thoughts of one's homeland, thoughts of one's caste, of color, and thoughts of not wanting to be despised. And after the mind had been cleansed of these, they would turn the mind to an object of concentration until it became bright and luminous, but still kept in place by the forcible fabrication of restraint. And then eventually even this would be unnecessary, and the mind would just be luminous and serene. And then whatever workable, malleable, and whatever that practitioner turned that mind to, they would be able to realize it. So the Buddha, just the depth of wisdom in that simile. And one thing that really strikes me about it, I've wanted to speak on this Goldsmith simile for so long. You know, first, that gold doesn't mix with other metals, that when you've touched Dhamma, when you've found refuge in people and the teachings, nothing can taint it. The world can be doing what the world does, and you still have found something which is immutable, precious, luminous, and pure. That remains. And also that once we have right view, the more difficult a situation becomes, the more it can serve as a crucible, as a forge, to sculpt us into more caring, loving, patient beings. If things are good, if they're always good, if they're always going your way, if you never have a chance to confront anger or difficulty, then it's easy to weave your heart in with the world, which is so fragile. And when things break, you know, so often we can think, okay, I understand, you know, there's dukkha, there's suffering, there's stress in the world. But somehow it gets into our peripheral vision, it becomes an accessory. And every now and again, the wake-up call from the world to truly understand samsara is broken. It's really broken. It's not a little broken. It's really broken. And like Longpo Sucitta says, we just expect so much from a human life. Human life is not that good. You get married, it's okay. You have kids, they disobey you. Your parents, you know, mess you up in various ways. You've been great, Mom. Human life is, the sad valleys of earth. These are what we're given. And yet, if they're approached with right view, they become a tremendous blessing because they become a tool to purify the heart. But that's because we're no longer expecting them to provide us with happiness. Rather, they represent a duty in line with Dhamma, in line with the storyline of 2,500 years we're stepping into, to give a gift to those around us of the pure and quiet and calm and loving heart. This is your role. This is refuge. And if that's truly the view you take, if you truly approach with the Four Noble Truths, seeing dukkha as a chance to understand craving and let go of it, to realize peace at a deeper level, then when things are not as you wish they would be, that's when the most potent times for practice are. And the Dhamma and the world will only, it might be a bit too much to say this, but one can look at the difficulty in one's life as a crucible applied, with enough heat applied, in measure with the instrument that you are meant to be forged into. And granted, the language of purpose and teleology and destiny might be a bit much for a Buddhist conception, but the Four Noble Truths are a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you really approach the world and its brokenness with the Four Noble Truths in mind, then I've never seen a limit to how far you can use difficulty to let go of craving and to become selfless and pure. So that's the goal. Can you understand when the world is giving you a crucible? And to understand that the Buddha said patient endurance is the supreme incinerator of defilement. It's the cleansing flame. And that sometimes when things are hard, when anger or fear rises up, that as a practitioner, your whole purpose is to remain still and calm and caring in the midst of that, and let that heat kind of work on you until it cools down, until you make it to the other side of the first and second noble truth of stress and craving, and find there's a hidden peace and coolness and majesty at the other end. That is grace, and that is the third and fourth noble truth. So hold still and be kind and calm. And to see that the idea of anger in a Buddhist conception never has a place. There was a BBC program, I've talked about this before, where different religious leaders were asked, is there ever a purpose or a place for anger? And the Dalai Lama was the only one who said, no, there's never a place for anger. And this is the Buddhist standard. The Buddha, in the simile of the saw, which many of you know, said, even if bandits were to dismember you limb from limb with a two-handled saw, that those among you who gave rise to even one thought of ill will would not be doing my bidding. That's the standard, and that's quite a standard. But to know that, there are wholesome elements frequently woven into that sense of reaction or outrage or whatever it might be, say a sense of deep values, of energy, of things needing to be done, but those can always be separated from the anger. The anger never has a place for expression, ever. An action is always more powerful when it comes from love. And even more so when the world around you is filled with division. So to know that this is the standard going in, when that goldsmith cleans the gold of its coarse defilements, gravel, sand, grit, and the mind of, or rather misconduct of body, speech, and mind, to know that when you speak going into these next years or months, you'll notice more and more, if you are practicing, when you emerge from a conversation just feeling sticky, like that was not necessary. I fed something in that other person which did not need to be fed. And what would it mean to be kind and calm and curious and loving and hold a deeper refuge? People talk about the world in heated terms enough. They do not need another voice like that in their life. What they need is someone who can hold a deeper space of care and calm and sanctuary. That is what you can give. And it is a duty. If you've come in contact with these teachings and value them and have taken refuge, this is how you represent them and carry them into the world. You've been given a gift. Do not squander it. That gold mixes with nothing. And if you'll notice, if there's ever anything, the brighter your heart becomes with Dhamma, the more pure that gold becomes. Any blemish on it becomes viscerally visible. You come out of the conversation and you know you didn't have to jump into that same conversation that's played out over the dinner table 50 times already. You know you could have actually represented something else that's cooler and calmer. Misconduct of speech. And then misconduct of body, of mind. Just in Buddhist conception, we have no real influence over what past thoughts come into our mind, or very little. You can't even predict what your mind's going to throw at you in the next 5 seconds. You know, how is this you and yours? It's not even just tuning into a radio, it's your neighbor's radio. But karma is created, misconduct of mind is created when you feed into those thoughts, when you buy into them, when you run with the fantasy, when you become drunk and colored by the thought. That is what you restrain. And with anger, it's so important to keep vigil over that. Ajahn Brahmali says mindfulness in daily life should have two functions, chiefly two functions for most of us: to keep your morality and to avoid dwelling in ill will. So as soon as the anger comes up, confront it. Don't go back into the argument or into the self-justification. I know a practitioner who says if he finds himself repeating any view 3 times really vehemently internally, he knows he's wrong, at least to some degree. There's something delusional in there. And some of you may have heard our interview with Ajahn Mudita several weeks ago. And he said, sensuality will pretend it's your friend. Ill will, hatred, will pretend it's necessary. Ill will pretend it's necessary. Delusion will pretend it doesn't exist. It's brilliant. But anger, it's not enough just to note it sometimes. Sometimes you're going to just have to turn more towards it, expand your view consciously. Look at the good parts of the people you're angry at, or use the Four Noble Truths to trace back their own suffering. Can you understand where their suffering comes from, where their vulnerability is? And the Buddha said Vedana, feeling, is the meeting place, I think. Contact is origin. Feeling is meeting place. Dukkha is where we meet. That's not exactly what the sutta is supposed to mean, but I like it for this purpose. Dukkha is such an important place to come to in terms of understanding that root and shared humanity. So can you trace that back for others? And then to see the middle defilements of thoughts of ill will, thoughts of harmfulness, thoughts of sensuality. And I've just touched on these. But what would it mean right now to really take that seriously, to understand that your purpose during difficult times is to restrain the heart from falling into that and to not react, And people don't realize how powerful non-reaction is. It roars. In a space filled with reaction, there's something about a quiet humility which the majesty can echo out. I was at Abhayagiri last week, and one of the monks was talking about when he was an anagarika, a white-robed aspirant, and he would make oatmeal, and he had all these leftover donuts that he kept putting in the monk's oatmeal. The lay people's oatmeal. And one day they were surrounded by all the lay people in the kitchen, and one other postulant turned to him and said, "You didn't make the oatmeal disgustingly sweet like you did last time, right?" And he said, no, he was just so embarrassed. He said, no, it's just a normal oatmeal. And then he kind of quietly went over and sat in a corner, kind of just eating, and just the pounding sense of self-embarrassment. And then someone came over to him and said, that was amazing. And he said, what? And he said, you didn't react. You didn't react. I mean, he insulted you in front of everyone. That was so amazing. And we don't realize how powerful a quiet center point can be. So to understand that. And then the fine defilements. And this is where you see the Buddha's genius just glow through. Where he said, one cleanses the minds of the fine defilements of thoughts of one's homeland, thoughts of one's caste, one's color, social station, social orientation, social position, and thoughts of not wanting to be despised. Oh, just to back up to the ill will part, actually, there's another great sutta where the Buddha says one can have three kinds of mind. You can have a mind like stone, which is where letters etched into the stone are etched in quickly and remain for a long time, just like one who angers quickly and the anger remains. You can have a mind like sand, where letters may be sketched in, but then the wind and water quickly sweep them away, like one who angers quickly, but the anger quickly fades. Or you can have a mind like water, where letters, when written, immediately disappear. And even so, one, when spoken to harshly, does not get angry, and I think it says remains on good terms with that person, something like that. And he says also, there's another three kinds of mind one can have. You can have a mind like a pustule, where if you poke it, it squirts out pus. And that's like one who's, when spoken to harshly, excretes angry words in return. It's so good. You can have a mind like a flash of lightning, which is where you've seen the truth, you've seen the Dhamma. That's a sotapanna. For a brief moment, you can have a mind like a diamond, which is the enlightened, perfected mind. So which of those three are we going to go for? And every time, like when you feel yourself about to rise up and spray out, just think, oh man, I do not want to be that pimple. I went through that in high school. It was enough. But those final three fine defilements, thoughts of one's homeland, just remembering America is a concept. America is a concept. It's as a human, especially with a belief in rebirth, we are part of a much bigger storyline now. Thoughts of one's caste, giving those up, one's color. And this is important, is that if you really are practicing and you represent Dhamma, huge caveat for this whole talk, you can continue to, do good work. You can continue to contribute socially to where you feel it's meaningful. Those are all on the table. Every time I give this talk, someone will come up and be like, helping socially is good, I think. And yes, it is. It's good. But you can do it without anger. And you can also acknowledge that there's actually an equation to be run, where if positioning yourself in terms of the caste systems of I'm not going to throw that word around, the social positions which you find yourselves in, and the different parties or views, if you turn off someone to the Dhamma because you jump into that narrative or that argument without fruit, without the right consideration, then that is blameworthy. You might be someone's only route into the Dhamma, and that might take a more gentle, caring approach. It might mean you put aside the political conversation. A monk once said to me, we get to be passionate about two things as monks, the 5 precepts and the Brahmaviharas. Obviously there's more, but if monks had a yard sign, that would be it. But really, is what would it mean to approach those conversations with care and curiosity? What would that mean? And you can still have those discussions. You can still approach with, there's a place for that, but it would mean so much more to lead in with a gentle touch and to make sure that it's worth jumping into those realms. And the final thing of thoughts of not wanting to be despised. I don't know exactly where that fits into this talk, but I love that one. It's so good. And just remembering that. And to know that I was actually, for this talk, I was curious how they did smelt gold. And one of the ways they do it is I think they mix it a bit with lead. And somehow the lead grabs all the heavier elements and leaves kind of a bead of gold, something like that. And similarly, when the heavier elements enter your life, when the tragedy, when the difficulty, when the fear, and when the anger come, that, strangely enough, can be the impetus for you to really separate out that gold. Someone was saying at the table this morning that they, were upset by events in the world right now, and what had really given their heart comfort was thinking, the people that I'm surrounded by here, the Dhamma, it remains and it is pure and untouched. And that is true. Those with little dust in their eyes are always few in the world. But this thread of Dhamma has lasted through so much up and down in the world, so much breaking. And our duty to carry it on gently with love it's such a gift, and it is refuge. There's that wonderful teacher who said, I think was it Gurdjieff? Yeah, maybe. He said, I dreamt that life was a joy. I awoke and found that life was a duty. I acted, and behold, duty was a joy. So, whether you're glad of kind of the place the world is right now or have difficulty with it, wherever you land, odds are all of our vision is a little bit too tunneled. And to expand into a wider scope of Dharma, of humanity, of heart, and to take heart that, the world has lasted and the Dhamma has lasted through so many ups and downs, and that we have refuge in this. And that it's our duty to really hold that and carry it on for those around us. So I wish you all the best in the coming weeks and months and lifetimes.
Hum Dhammayang Dhammakataya Sadhu Karang Dhanamase Sadhu 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 Anumodami.
And I want to acknowledge, it's true that Dharma crowds in Seattle tend to lean a bit left. And so, obviously the talk had a bit of the valence of speaking about those who have been upset by recent events. But really, really, Ajahn Kovil and I want to maintain a space where it's genuinely just a very open, caring space where we can come together as Buddhists, as Dharma practitioners. That's what we're here for. So the triple gem and the disco ball are very much welcome to all. So we have time for questions now. If people want to raise their hands, they may, and we'll run a mic over to you. And then those on the computer may also raise their hand. Mom. And Joseph, we may open up some space to some others who've spoken a bit less in recent weeks, if that's okay. Mom.
Thank you for that talk. It was wonderful, important. So I never hear this. I'd be really curious, and you might have talked about it when you talked about the heavier elements separating out. But some people have said, "I'm not mad, I'm heartbroken," but that still seems to drain something beautiful away in a way. Like, should you? Sometimes, to me, that can be a murky thing, grief, of where othering can be mixed in there. So I was wondering if you would talk about that with, I don't hear grief talked about that much in the Dhamma, interestingly. And so that, a number of people said, no, I'm not angry, I'm heartbroken, and I get it, and it seems there's something I'd love clarification about with it.
Ajahn, do you want to answer that? I'll come after.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, it's nice that people are looking deeply at their own minds and hearts and bodies and seeing how they're reacting to these things and getting some nuance about how one's feeling about this. And I do think having some kind of Buddhist vocabulary into this can be helpful. Like heartbroken can be really positive. I mean, it can be pointing to the aspect of looking at the dukkha within, acknowledging the aspect of unsatisfactoriness, the aspect of some kind of emotional sadness. But then there's also this other word in Pali, domanassa, which could literally be translated as heartbroken. Mana, like the mind or the heart. Do is like a bad or broken. And it is in Abhidhamma, so kind of Buddhist philosophy, it's always an unwholesome mind state. So it's the type of heartbrokenness that is dejected and is looking at the world not accurately, but through a lens that's dark and is not in a position to look upwards and see solutions, but is just blinded by too much of a degree of darkness. Parsing out in one's own heart, in one's own mind, in one's own brain, okay, what is this intelligent recognition of internal unsatisfactoriness, of pain? Which aspect of this is unhelpful grief or dejection, this domanassa? And what aspect is this compassion, which is also to be cultivated? So if it is a heartbrokenness that sees the pain of others, but isn't paralyzed by that, but which can see a clear path forward, in the danger of the heartbrokenness that is this domanassa, this brokenness, emphasis on the brokenness versus the heartness, then you can't see clearly. There's not, you're in the dark seeing blindly. So
Just a little bit. No, I think that was wonderful. And I would say just there's a place for part of, I think, touching into that universal truth of dukkha is expanding the view to take, this not as this is a broken situation, but expanding it to like this is samsara's brokenness, which we all touch, and also to complicate, because the tunnel visioning does come with craving and othering, and I think you begin to get a sense for that, and it's helpful to kind of complicate those perceptions. Like if the headlines were accurate of the newspapers of the last 25 years, every day the front page headline would be another 20,000 people lifted out of extreme poverty. That's an important, like, if you're thinking the world's completely going downhill, I mean, really, like, expand the view a little bit and just soften those perceptions. And for me, that lets the tunnel vision soften a bit into a wider, more wholesome and dharmic perspective as well.
Thank you. It's a tough time for everybody, I think, and it's a tough time to give a Dhamma talk. And I wanted to say just what's been helping me is self-compassion. Self-compassion. And I came to this through Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart. And to me, that's so appropriate right now for how I've been feeling. So I just wanted to offer that the self-compassion then, you can then offer that to everyone else. It enables the compassion to come out, whereas the resistance and the fear and the, I'm just going to be quiet and not say anything because I'm a good Buddhist, that isn't the reality for me. But if I have self-compassion and compassion for others, then what comes out is, we're here in samsara together. So I just wanted to offer that. And thank you for your talk.
Gene, sometimes it can be weird to praise someone to their face in public, but looking at you, you look very self-compassioned, and it does spread. So thank you for.
So this has kind of been answered by you, honestly, but I'm kind of opening up this question to really any advice from anybody in this room, because it's something I've been struggling with since before the election and all of that stuff. I have a good couple of friends who have very opposing political views from my own. And I don't have any problems really talking to them about it. I'm very good at like not turning those into arguments. But particularly after the election, I find myself losing a lot of compassion, particularly for this one friend who is just, I love her very much, but in my opinion, she's quite ignorant to a lot of these things. And it's hard to hold that in a place of compassion when she is like saying all of these things about she's like complimenting a community and showing love for a community that she's very actively not supporting, and very actively fighting against in everything other than her own words. And I'm mainly just asking, like, what's the best way to still hold compassion for somebody that you do care about, but you're just incredibly angry at? Like, it's, I find myself going there rather than to to compassion, a lot of the time, particularly when we talk about politics, because I just get really angry. What's the best advice to hold that compassion and keep it in those conversations?
This may have to be our last question because we have some extra stuff today. That's a great one, though, Axel. And, I'd say that once again, it's the crucible of like those relationships that are fraught in that way. It's such an amazing realm of practice because you're really forced to work with that disjunct and to, not only really constrain your conversation to what's really meaningful about your relationship, which I'm guessing was never talking politics, maybe that was part of it, but if that means that for this time you just steer away from those conversations, or if it comes up on their end, you just say, actually I really value you as a friend, my heart really goes out, and this is kind of a troubled domain for me right now, can we just be with each other? And I think that's actually a really powerful space to build a friendship. And also, once again, that relationship, if you approach it with the goal of it being a realm of building love and breadth of heart and patience, like you'll have plenty of opportunities to do just that. So that's your teacher for the next while, perhaps, Yeah. Yeah, no, the Dharma will throw at you just about up to the brim of what you can take, but in this case, maybe not beyond it. So, and today we wanted to take a chance to really rejoice and celebrate the people and many of the people who make all this possible. And we want to begin actually by calling up our board. So who of our board is here? We got Kim, Dave, Steve, and Allison Thomas, who was our treasurer for many years. By many, I mean 3. Come up here, Allison. She's also, when I initially thought I'd be coming to Seattle to live here, these 2 people reached out and offered to Dave and Allison host me in their backyard for 2 weeks. And 3.5 years later, we're still there. So Allison and Dave have been responsible for Clear Mountain 1.0. Allison was our treasurer for 2.5 years, or 3 years actually, 3 whole years, sorry. And really set up our organization on a foundation which actually could last. She's just been instrumental and given so much time and care to this. And recently, had to step back a little bit for a variety of reasons. She's helping in so many different realms, and we really wanted to take this chance to celebrate all the good she did. So I was going to pass the mic over to the board, and then to Ajahn Kovilo, and then the board, one or the other. And then eventually we'll have Allison say something, perhaps.
You want to start with Steve, or you can either?
Yeah, so when I was thinking about Allison, a few qualities came up that I thought I might highlight. The first sort of, Allison has this just sweetness of spirit, which I'm sure you've all experienced, and this humility, which I think is so rare in somebody who is also so steadily competent. And, you know, Allison has really poured all of those qualities into helping us create a foundation, a structure for this organization that we really desperately needed, and is going to serve so many for so long. And yeah, she's just a gem. Yeah, thank you so much.
Not much to add to that, really, Allison, but I have to say, when I think about my own practice and how much benefit I have received from being in this community and the work that you have done to lay the foundation for this community, and it's been such a gift to so many and to me, so thank you.
And I've just appreciated many things about getting to know you, your amazing kindness and just this pure loving gentleness about you. And then in some miraculous way, we're just sort of figuring things out, and you come up with these numbers like, here's the finances, like, oh my God, that is so organized. That was just amazing. And then lastly, you know, as Ajahn Nisabho was suggesting, I mean, actually you live in a fairly small yard with 3 male persons and yourself, and you've had incredible balance and kindness about that, and incredibly generous to welcome that to kutis and a husband, to monastics in kutis and a husband. So how wonderful. Thank you, thank you. And I'm going to miss having you on the board, but I know you're still here.
Just a quick note, people may have noticed we are Clear Mountain Monastery, but we don't actually have monastery as land, but we do have monastery as community. And really a monastic community, a monastery community, even more than being the land, is the community. And the community is a interrelationship between the monastics and all the lay people. And you all are the lay donuts in our monastic oatmeal. In the best way, Because that sounded really delicious, actually. Yeah, not that I want to eat that every day, but yeah. And the board and all of our volunteers, you are like the sprinkles on the donuts in our oatmeal. Yeah. And Allison, you are like a particularly refined gold sprinkle who also organizes the other sprinkles in spreadsheets and straight lines. So thank you so much.
So now that we've thoroughly embarrassed Allison, Allison, would you like to say anything about your time as treasurer?
Yeah, it's been a real gift to have this community. Yeah, I wasn't looking for anything, and it just sort of landed in my backyard. And I think, yeah, I've sort of spoken about this in my community stories a few years ago, but it's just been a blessing to have the Dhamma drop in my backyard and then to be able to support these wonderful monastics and to work with these beautiful practitioners, and then to see that goodness just ripple out, and everyone has a spot here in this community. I really believe that. And though I've sort of stepped officially back from the board in Treasure, I'm still here. I still will be here carrying books up and down if I can until the body fails. And I just encourage, if you have any inkling of just like, oh, I'd like to help, to reach out and just ask how you might. It is so beneficial. And also just, just the gratitude for everyone that has keeps coming here and supporting the community and these wonderful monastics that we're so blessed to have. So I thank you all.
Get 3 big sadhus for Allison. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So many spreadsheets. You all have no idea. Kim, I think we have a gift.
We do indeed. So we chose a tanka for you, just as a token of appreciation for, to honor all of your effort and dedication to the project.
Okay, Clear Mountain Spirit Fingers, people. Come on, sprinkles. Okay. Okay, so we're going to now make Allison not be up here alone with the board either. So if we can have our Sangha coordinators come up, we're going to hand over the MC to them. And board, no, you stay up here. Kim, you get back up here. Good.
Okay. Hi. My name is Christina. I am one of 3 Sangha coordinators. I'm joined by Bonnie and Jeremy, and we wanted to acknowledge our volunteer base today. This community has been steadily growing over 3 years. We're to the point where our Saturday group is like 85 on average, and we literally touch people around the world. We've hit a milestone on our Discord community. We're now 1,000 strong on there, so we're growing steadily. And none of that growth would be possible without the backbone of our volunteer base, who does so much in giving their skill, their energy, and their time to make sure that everything works flawlessly, and also supports the monastics in their practice and alleviates them of the burden of having to do some of the facilitation of everything. So each of us over the past 3 months have been getting to know our respective groups of volunteer groups, and we just wanted to acknowledge them individually, one at a time. So since I have the mic, I'll start. I'm in charge of the remote volunteer group, so these are the people that maintain our email, the Discord, the Mission Majima project, whether they're facilitating or editing the videos and the audio that's part of that project. The gratitude stewards who call anytime somebody makes a donation, our publicity stewards who manage our social media and our PR efforts. If you are on Zoom and part of this group, please raise your electronic hand so we can publicly thank you. And if you're in person and part of any of those groups, please stand so we can acknowledge you today. And should we give sadhus one at a time? 3 sparkly sadhus, please, for our remote volunteer group. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Hi, I'm in charge of these wonderful Seattle-lite volunteers. I chose this, or kind of been given this great gift, really, because it's been wonderful to come every week and do the events and do this daily stuff and just see the energy and the love and the time. I thought a long time about this week in lieu of everything. And the gift of time is so precious. I mean, we could write checks, and that's important too, but to give your time, I think, is the greatest gift that you can. And you do it so willingly and with smiles, and it's just wonderful to see. And I'm very honored to be part of this and to work with you. I am in charge, if you want to use that word, of the AV group and the setup group, the Saturday setup group, photography, the malas, the librarian, and just everybody and everything that makes this work so beautifully. It's just a privilege to be here. Thank you. Oh, stand, and everybody, anybody who's ever done anything in the realm of volunteering, stand up.
And 3 sadhus.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yeah, volunteering makes you happy, so I encourage it. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with the board, who we've got up here in the front, as well as Brianna and the Land Search Committee, and Katie, if she's here, and her finance team as well, all play a really important part. So yeah, if Brianna, you'd like to stand up, and we can all say sadhu, and Katie, if you're here, and the board as well.
Brianna, we need to embarrass you a little. Good.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Have them come up to speak. One more thing. Yeah. We don't have sparkly donuts, but we have sparkly cupcakes. So please, everybody, help yourself afterwards, and they're coming up.
And then I think we do want to invite 4 or 5 volunteers, if you're feeling so inclined, to just speak to what it's meant to you to give the gift of your time.
Not while you're eating the donuts, but you can be receiving one. But yeah, if we could first, if you have to go, I know it's 11, you can, but we won't judge you. But if we could have, a few volunteers just...
And take a cupcake on your way out.
We're not actually sure where to give the cupcakes. Okay, maybe we can, as a group, pretend to blow them all out so that they don't set the fire alarms off by continuing to burn too long. Okay, 1, but don't actually spit on the cupcakes. So yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, sparkly fingers at the cupcakes. All right, good work. And Bonnie made those. Sadhu. The 3 Sangha coordinators really did step up and have really been helping us facilitate this whole team. But if we could have open just a little bit of space for anyone who's served as a volunteer, just to say what the experience has meant for them.
I think over the last 3.5 years or so, the generosity, and including this week that I've witnessed, has been amazing. And as a volunteer, to do something for the community that I already love doing, and to be able to offer that has just been my great joy. And this is home, and I think what I said earlier, just taking refuge in the Triple Gem and the continued reminder, and I see it every week here. I see it down at the market for Bindabat so often, and so it's just my great privilege and honor to be here. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu.
somebody knows how to do this. And I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but I came here to learn how to do meditation from professionals, from the people who know how. And I immediately was taught that this is about, my whole life is about my practice, not just the cushion. And every time I deal with people here, with all of you, I find you reminding me of that, because I forget. And it's not just the Swiss cheese that is my memory that makes me forget your names. It's that I get immersed in the world and I forget. I forget the Dhamma, and you remind me of it. And so you make me aware that this is always here and I can always turn to it if I just remember. And you're the ones who remind me. That's what it's meant to be here and to be so engaged with you in helping set up and all of this. So that's what I thank you for.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, one more. John, on Zoom. Hi, John. Everyone's saying hello.
Nope.
Can't hear you yet. Can we unmute him? Go for it again, John. I think you're muted, John. Still muted. It might be on your end, John. Can you unmute? How are you at charades? Okay, all right. Well, John, it's very good to see your face anyways. Feel free to type into the chat what you'd like to say. Try again, John. One more time. Oh, there you go. Go for it, John.
There we are.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I volunteered for a little while at Clear Mountain a couple of years ago, and I just found it to be really wonderful to serve this community and kind of get my mind and my heart off of the self-centered kind of focus, off of myself, and that just really saved me. Like that really helped because I was going through some rough times, and nothing to get you out of a rut like coming to Clear Mountain and helping with setup and tear down and meeting all kinds of great people. And so I'm just so grateful, and thank you all. Been a tremendous help in my life.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And Joseph providing the hearts as always. Sadhu Joseph. We found out we were having to grind like a huge bag of coffee for the robe offering ceremony. We found out John was grinding it all by hand, and he was pretty buff afterwards, I think, at least on one side. So good. All right, so if we can do one more sparkly Clear Mountain spirit fingers. Okay. And maybe, actually, can we have the Sangha coordinators, two of them keep holding the banner so we have it up? And if we can bring the cupcakes up here, and as we wrap up, if volunteers can come up and get a cupcake, if you don't want it, you can give it away, but they might be standing here until you actually come up and get a cupcake. But I think that lets, at least for a little bit, just to honor that beautiful banner that Bonnie got and the beautiful cupcakes and the volunteers. So let's just do 3 big, wonderful sadhus one last time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We don't really have any other words to celebrate with. It's the thing. And now we'll all bow to the Buddha if you want. No pressure. Unless you're holding cupcakes.